But interestingly, Marcel, I'm going to suggest something to you. You see, do you know what you just said about the science element? Yeah? I mean, the word science actually means knowledge. Okay? Yeah. And that is what we should all be seeking. Yeah? The amazing thing about the discoveries that we are making as human beings collectively, and it is a collective effort, yeah, is that it is assisting in the betterment of human beings. Unfortunately, sometimes we use it, yeah, for the wrong reasons, yeah. But do you know, if I were to tell you, my name is Shabir, I'm a Muslim. My position today is as a result of what I read in the book known as the Quran. Now, if I were to tell you, the Quran actually insists that we should go and seek all this, what we call scientific evidence, how would you view it?
How do you do it?
How would you view it? How would you expect a religious book to tell you something like that?
No, I think that's very progressive, and because it's a newer religion in a way, I can understand why it would encourage people to do that.
But amazingly, Marcel, you are talking 1,500 years ago. This was even before, but this was even before the birth of what we would call collective science the way we understand it today. Now, I would say...
Well, no. I mean, science has been around. I mean, people have been, and that's something else that people are uncovering through archaeology.
Yes.
Is just how more progressive civilizations were than we thought, especially,
I agree.
Western, views of...
Yes, or what they thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. But that is why I said the word collective science. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Makes it easier for our sister. Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. But the word when I use the phrase collective science, I mean the way it is understood today. It was a relatively recent one, especially with the falsifiability test, which was quite recent. But I view, as a human being, I know that irrespective of the discoveries I make, irrespective of the kind of life I lead, okay, our mirror tells us that we are on a point of non-reversal in terms of life. We are going to come to a position where we will be no more. We will be no more. So one day, no, I'm talking about us as individuals, we will die. I mean, it's so difficult for me, yeah? And I usually, whenever I'm having conversations, I usually tell people, look, let's look at the evidence first and then establish our view of things based on the evidence. Now, I respectfully always say to my atheist friends that, look, what you are doing is restricting your growth by excluding certain kinds of evidence. Now, if we were to ask that, yeah, if I were to say, right, we know that the natural world that we have, that we can view, we can test, we can assess, is the natural world. As I see you and you see me, yes, however, the workings of the eyes,
You mean through our senses?
yeah, we call them the senses, don't we? Yeah, our senses tell us much about the world. But there is much about the world which our senses cannot tell us about.
Certain equipment, scientific equipment.
Some equipment,
that scientists have developed,
yes,
like the telescope very early on, Galileo, and
Yes.
discovered things that we didn't know. So we can't just rely on our immediate senses, because our senses, we have extensions to our senses
Yes.
that science have developed. And this is what I'm, so all the discoveries that we're making still, it is through a scientific method.
Yes.
We're not discovering anything through religion, apart from maybe people discovering a faith or a belief or whatever
Right,
it is.
okay.
But that has, I don't know where that goes. And I'm not somebody who would ever, I don't believe in banning religions.
I understand.
Actually think...
I understand, yeah. But you see, Marcel, I would respectfully suggest that you might have missed a particular aspect in history. You see, the greatest, what we would call medical doctor, whose encyclopedic information is still used even today in the halls of medicine, was a Muslim.
that doesn't surprise me because there was a lot of scientific work
But now,
done under
absolutely, yes, there was a lot.
Yes.
But where did they take it?
Mathematics.
But where did they take it from?
Not from
It was from the Quran.
the Quran. I
Because
don't
the
know, I
Quran,
haven't
yeah,
read
yeah,
the
I
Quran,
understand.
But anyway,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I'm
have
going to give you a present today. There you are. Yeah. Basically.
I think my daughter has the Quran actually because she studies religion.
Basically, you see, the one thing I'm doing whenever I'm talking to people, I'm telling them, look, get one thing straight. Islam is not a religion in the conventional sense. It's difficult because people just use words which we are accustomed to. Islam is not a religion, number one.
We believe in the existence of a
Now, you see,
of a God.
excellent. You see, the word belief should be preceded by evidence.
Yes.
I do not subscribe to the word believe the way it is understood. The scientific method is what? To establish things through evidence. Well, I am saying to you that the Quran actually insists that that is how we must establish things. So I say to my atheist friends, look, I am, according to you, a religionist who is insisting that we must consider evidence. Yeah? Yet my atheist friends are telling me we don't want to consider all the evidence. I'm saying, why are you being unreasonable to yourselves? Because if you are going to exclude a certain subject matter because society has deemed it to be unsuitable, you are being unjust to yourself.
But how do you ever prove the existence of
The creator. Well, if you think
this is
of,
what this man was saying.
Yeah,
when I
that's
came. So
the
we're coming back to
conversation. Yeah,
the same point. It's like
yeah, no, it's not a problem at all. Yeah, you see, Marcel, this is the most important issue, and that is what I was trying to get through here. Yeah, that when we say a God, the first thing we have to accept is that whatever it is we are talking about is definitely not like us human beings. Can't be, by definition.
We've had to explain it by giving it a name, a gender, in our religion.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. They're the Christians. Yes. Okay.
You know, things that people find very hard to accept. Then on the other hand, if God is not that, then what is it?
Absolutely. Now,
This is what you...
I agree. Now, here is what I say. Look, let's work on what we would call logical assumptions. Yeah, this is what I would call them. Logical assumption number one. I assume there to be a creator. Why? Because when I look at everything, I think, wait a minute, you know what? How am I supposed to accept, as an example, you know when I'm walking, okay, and I'm breathing, there's an exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. But there is also what you would call atmospheric pressure acting against the body. It seems like the amount that we have got seems to be balancing our ability to walk. Otherwise, we would just fall over, backward or forward. Now, I look at everything. We have got this, you know, what I would call the standard view that we seem to have the Earth in a particular location, etc. Okay?
Can I just interrupt? The way you're saying this is we seem to have, as if it's for us, but it isn't for us. We are part of it. We have evolved on the Earth. We were, you know, we've come through evolution. We wouldn't be alive unless we could survive in these conditions. So the fact that you're saying everything seems balanced, well, we wouldn't be here. That, you know, animals that couldn't survive here, if someone dropped here from another planet and they, you know, couldn't survive on our planet, they would die. But we have to survive here. We do survive here because we've evolved to survive.
Yeah.
But it's not here for us. We are part of the whole thing. And you're saying, you know, our lives are short,
Yes.
very short. You
Yeah.
know, probably the Earth will be no more in so many.
The universe will be no more. Yeah.
We don't even know about that because we're still discovering. We will never, I don't think.
I'll tell you something, Marcel. I can tell you of a surety, the universe is going to come to an end.
There are many universes apparently.
The method of calculation has already established it to be a few billion years hence.
Yes.
But the issue is not that. The issue, for example, you raised about we have evolved. Now, I did use the word logical assumption. There are many assumptions in this theory, but if I were to ask you, okay, look, I don't mind if somebody tells me that, look, it seems like we evolved, yeah?
It seems like.
No.
We know we have evolved. We know we have evolved through scientific evidence.
Right, but the scientific evidence needs to be assessed.
It's always being assessed, and new evidence. We're finding more links between us and other humans.
Excellent. Let's see. A few years ago, there was a fanfare about a discovery that was made of a lizard-like creature, yeah, which was seen to be a missing link. Are you familiar with that?
Is this the one that was a fake or something?
Oh, there have been a few fakes. But this one was meant to be, okay? There was a fanfare about its discovery. What happened after that?
I don't know, tell me.
It basically disappeared off the face, I would call it the earth. Why? Because rightfully so, it was found to be not what they thought it was.
No.
But you see, the scientific community don't advertise when something goes wrong. There's a reason. I would suggest to you, sorry, Marcel, basically, I said to myself, okay, if I evolved, yeah, whatever it was that led me to this position, whether it's natural selection or whatever it may be, okay? Am I at a position now to consider higher matters?
Yes, because you're conscious.
I do. But now the question is this. If evolution has led me to this position to be able to think of higher matters, what would the reason be?
Because that's part of our evolution. Because
Excellent.
we're continually evolving.
Excellent. If our evolution, through whether it was natural selection or any other method, if it has brought me to the position where I can now confidently think about a creator, is that part of evolution?
Yes, it is, because people will try and explain the world to themselves in many different ways, because we're conscious beings. So we're always wanting to know why. We're curious social animals.
But that can't be true, can it? You see, there's a problem. The method of evolution is mechanistic, isn't it?
No, some of it happens through chance.
It's still mechanistic because it has to follow a physical order.
Well, it can be quite chaotic, actually.
No problem, but it's still mechanical at the end.
I don't really know what you mean by that.
Basically, what I mean is that, look, we had...
through mutation.
It happens through a physical process, doesn't it?
But new discoveries are also saying that it also happens through... It's not just mutation, you know, it can happen very quickly in a lifetime.
Absolutely,
as well.
Marcel. That's a mechanical aspect. If you look at the fruit flies, that was the example they used because they reproduce very, very quickly. Okay, but that's not the issue. The issue is this: how do we explain, from the evolutionary perspective, the very notion of consciousness?
For me, it's that we cannot survive without it, and therefore that's why we're here, because it evolved. You know,
you see,
it's a very physical thing. It's the working of our brain. So consciousness is not something that exists up here, outside of us. It's within the workings of our brain.
You see, I will ask you this.
And our bodies.
Absolutely. But you see, anyone who is studying this aspect, we call it the scientific aspect anyway. If you look at neuroscientists and their view, okay, you will find that consciousness, according to the understanding, seems to be independent of the way our brain actually functions. The problem we are having is that how do you separate the two? Can you separate the two? So, for example, Well,
how can it exist without humans?
I just said that. I said the distinction between the two is a difficult one. But if I were to ask you this, the physical processes that I have, yeah, as an example, if I, as a male, am attracted to a female, my natural inclination is to do something about it. That's what it would be. But we know that we can't do that because we have developed rules over time. Yes?
As all mammals have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And not
The
just
rule.
mammals.
Yeah. The rules are there. The question I'm asking is that when I am able to surpass what I would consider to be primitive thinking,
Yeah.
and if I were to accept the theory of evolution the way it is understood, then I necessarily can accept that now I'm at a position to be able to understand why I am here. Can we agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now the logical question is that if I am able now to not only understand but surpass our mechanical understanding of the world and ourselves, then logically the next question is, after I die, what will happen to me? Now there's
I mean, honestly,
I know
we're
what you
so
mean, my
out-
son.
Yeah, the problem
But-
with human beings
Yeah.
is that we think we're so special that something must happen after we die. But really, what happens to all mammals when they
Marcel,
die?
let me ask you this.
They become part of the earth.
In the-
And, you know, really,
Yeah.
we shouldn't even be put in boxes. Just put us in the
Right.
earth and let us enrich the soil.
agreed.
Our lives are so short. We're not that
Enrich the
special.
soil. Well, let
But
me
we
ask-
also are able to think. I mean, we think that we think on a higher level,
Yes.
but I don't think it's not as high as we think. Honestly, we're still trying to find out who we are, where we are,
Yeah.
why we are. Blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this discussion if we knew,
Yes.
and we'd actually answered all the questions. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah.
So we're forever seeking,
course.
but that doesn't make us any more special than an ant in
Yes.
terms of our lifespan
Yes.
and then our death.
Yes.
We all do that on Earth because we're earthbound, and that's what happens
Agreed,
to
but-
beings on Earth.
Agreed, but Marcel, you see, I agree with everything you have said. However, there's one aspect which I need you to explain to me. Are you suggesting, are you suggesting that what we would consider to be the rest of living entities, yeah? Now we are coming back to our consciousness element, okay? Are you suggesting that we are all on an equal footing? Consciousness.
I think we could be. I think the system
What
that
does
we
the
live under
evidence show?
doesn't actually allow everyone to be on an equal footing.
What does the evidence show?
It shows that we're not.
We are not.
No, I mean, we all have the potential, but some people don't get the, they're not able to pursue these questions.
I understand.
They're busy working every day.
Human beings, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm talking about, for example, lions, tigers, chimpanzees,
Well,
cats,
we are finding,
dogs,
we
ants.
We are more highly evolved than they are, but we are finding out that a lot of animals
Right.
are much more highly developed than we gave them credit for.
Agreed, but did you
That's
just
how arrogant we are.
No. But did you just agree that we are the
I think
most
yeah,
highly developed?
As far as
But-
we know,
Agreed.
I haven't spoken to a magpie recently or a raven, but I might find out.
I did, and you know what it said to me? Thank God you turned up. I said, okay, fair enough. Yeah. So you see,
Well, I'm not sure about that at the moment. But
right. But the way I look at it, as a human being, I know that if I were to take your view of evolution bringing us to where we are, even on that basis, I am saying if I have evolved to a position where I am now seriously able to consider not only the universe, potentially other universes, and potentially the very notion that what I would call my life force is not the mechanical aspect that we look at, but something more than that. My consciousness is allowing me. Thank you so much. You are a gentleman. I taught you well. Just a joke. He's my master. Yeah. So the consciousness level has reached to where I can convincingly state when we let go of our physical bodies, which will come in use as you rightly pointed out, for the benefit of food and everything else to grow, what I would consider my essence, and because evolution has allowed us to actually conjure up the idea of the essence of a human being, I am saying to you confidently that it will move on to something else. How can we establish that evidentially?
I don't think we can.
The question is there a possibility we can?
Well, I mean, if you look at, even in science, if you're looking at possibilities, then I suppose give anything that you don't actually know could be a possibility.
Exactly.
But the chances of it are very, very small compared to other possibilities.
Agreed.
So
I'm so logical. The crux that we started with, we are back at. You see, if I were to say to you, it is more probable than not that there is a creator, how do you view that statement?
I think, but then this is the problem, it's I think not, because a creator has not, in fact, people would have believed that more earlier in our evolution than they do now. Now, that in itself, to me, is saying something about how science has explained more than religion. And I think I'm not, I sound like a real sort of horrible bigot.
Marcel, no, you
There's
don't.
a beauty in religion. To me, it's an early science, and it's quite poetic, and it tells stories about it's humans trying to explain themselves, and it's beautiful, but I think science has developed much more than religion has in terms of being able to explain why we're here.
I agree with you, but Marcel, the issue is not about religion collectively. The issue about, is it more probable than not that there is a creator? You are discussing religion, I'm not. I'm saying, Marcel, if you think about it, the statement itself, it is more probable than not that there is a creator. You see, on an evidential basis.
Of the whole of all universes.
Whatever.
Fourth dimensions.
Absolutely, the 11 dimensions.
The thing for me is that the idea of a creator has come from earthbound creatures.
How do you know that?
Because it's come from human beings.
How do you know that?
Well, I don't know that there aren't other.
So it is an assumption.
Hypothetical.
Exactly.
Let's not go on
But
hypotheses.
isn't that what you're doing?
No. Let's go on scientific evidence.
Excellent. Now tell me what the evidence.
Theories. That's not really a theory because it's not based on any kind of evidence.
Agreed, but Marcel, you made a statement. I am saying on a scientific basis, establish it for me, that the idea of a God is a man-made construct.
Well, as far as we know, it's come from
What
us.
does that mean as far as we know?
We don't know any other. So, I mean, we're getting into the imagination, the world of the imagination. What if there are living beings on another planet who are thinking the same thing?
You see, Marcel, there's an
That's
answer
not
to
going
that.
to get you anywhere.
But there's an answer to that, Marcel. You see, whatever you are saying is based on previous experience. You cannot say anything other than what you have experienced.
Not me. No. It's based on our collective knowledge as human beings.
Okay.
And that includes history, science, geography, all the things, all those bodies of knowledge that have been built up over many, many thousands of years.
But not one piece of evidence is actually countering my proposition.
It's not proving it either.
Now, in order for us to do that, we would need to look at the evidence, wouldn't we? Question then, more importantly, Marcel, is one, what criteria would you use and what evidence would you then seek to establish the proposition?
The only evidence, if you want to call it evidence, is that we have the Bible, the Quran, and the other religious books. And we know about, for example, Jesus Christ probably existed, was a person, but that still doesn't prove that there's God.
That's what I'm saying. You see, whatever you are mentioning, the first question is, I said, look at the evidence.
But that evidence
Now-
has stayed the same for so long, and no other evidence has been uncovered.
Here is an odd question. I
From
agree.
what we invent.
I can see what you mean. But if I take what you are saying logically to its conclusion, this is what I would seek in my mind. If I have two routes, two roads,
Sorry,
of
I'm
course,
sorry to interrupt.
please.
I'm meeting a friend
I
and
understand.
I think she's phoning me. Oh, hold on. Hello?
tell her
I'm literally
you are
I'm
stuck.
having a discussion with a very nice gentleman. So if you
Good young man.
if you walk through, yeah, you know where Speaker's Corner is, where all the people are gathered. Look at, go to the left.
Tell her to wave, Marcel. Tell her to wave if she's in the park. Tell her to look out for the... Oh, she's gone. I was just going to say, tell her to look out for the most handsome individual. He's here.
I'm going to have to go and find him.
No, absolutely.
Anyway,
It's a pleasure speaking to you.
a great pleasure
Look
talking
after
to you
yourself.
as well.
You're
Thank you
back.
so much. I was really interested.